What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Jack Ramsays. Danny Marang here on a Thursday afternoon following the Portland Trailblazers back-to-back wins over the Minnesota Timberwolves. Donovan, Clingan, Shaden Sharp having monster career nights even. Yay, those are fun. We'll dive into all of that. I've got metric crap ton of your questions, so I think that's an actual measurement that we're going to go with. Thank you for getting so many of them in so very fast, so I can actually do the show a little bit early and then not go too late. So we got a lot to get into. It's been a wild 72 hours from Sunday on, and kind of where things were following Sunday night and to where things are today. I think there's a lot of different things to kind of go through. Like, rate, review, subscribe, help us grow the show. Excuse me. Share it with your friends, share it with your family. Do all of the things that you do. I'm trying to make these as frequent as I can with the frequency of the games and getting home late. It's hard to keep up with the pods and the writing. If you're a Patreon member, you just literally got a brand new article diving into the flow of Robert Williams III. And that a lot of that had to do, obviously, with the game against Minnesota on the front end of the back in the NBA Cup and what you saw with that, which is kind of where we're going to start. I'm not going to talk about the Patreon stuff too much, but I am going to talk about Game 1, then Game 2, obviously, last night. Then we'll go more higher level, catch you up on all of that, and then kind of work our way forward. Portland Trailblazers, Game 1, NBA Cup win, 122-108. Effectively running the Minnesota Timberwolves off the floor. A hell of a response after Chauncey Billups, cover yours folks, called their performance fucking embarrassing. Then told me when I asked him if they ever wanted to watch the film, he said, I'm not going to watch that shit. And then followed that up with saying, if you sleep well tonight after playing that way, you're a bunch of losers. Seems to have worked. Blazers come out, they shoot 51% from the floor, 56% from three, 90% from the free throw line. They win basically every single possible category. They outshot them. They out-rebounded them. They out-assisted them. They had more steals. They took better care of the ball. They blocked more shots. It was a ass-kicking. The final score was, 14? Is that what it was? Yeah, 122-108. It wasn't that close. They punched them in the face in that second half. Mild note on the Minnesota Timberwolves. I think they're having the same conversation with their team that Chauncey Billups just had with his team on Sunday. They rolled over and showed their belly in both games. Drastically disappointed in what I saw from the Timberwolves. On a lot of levels. Julius Randle didn't want to play against Toumani Camara for 2 games. That's what I saw there. Rudy Gobert looked like a shell of himself in both games. He's a guy that should be, regardless of who's on the floor, should be dominating the glass and finishing everything around the rim. Mildly impactful at best. Mike Conley might be dead. Dante DiVincenzo, oof, that was rough. Timberwolves, man. Ant Edwards, hit or miss. Kind of felt like he was kind of going in and out of games. Part of this is you have to give the Blazers credit for being aggressive and being disruptive and making them not want to play. But the Timberwolves are sorting through a lot of things right now. Talking to folks from Minnesota, the general thought was they think they can just turn it on and they're waiting for the playoffs, which for an organization with a career 40% winning percentage all time and one of the least successful franchises in all of professional sports in North America, it's probably not the best avenue to go down just because you made the playoffs and made a little bit of a run. You are not that team. Now, let's see if Finch can pull them out of that. But coming out of that game, the storyline was the return of Robert Williams III to the home crowd. And yes, he played on Sunday against Memphis and, whatever that was. But he played 26 minutes. He couldn't really play. You really couldn't play him any more than that. That was really his limit. As that game closed out, you could tell Donovan Clingan was just kind of hanging on for by a thread and picked up his 5th foul, and Chauncey Billups left him in down the stretch. And he was basically just like, man, bail out water, just get us to Robert Williams so we can close this thing out. And you had a fantastic performance from him, 19 points, 9 rebounds. Was it 3 steals, 3 assists, 3 blocks? Is that what the final was? Yeah. Sorry, I'm mixing games together right now in my head. So I thought you had a really good game from Denny Avia, 17, 5, and 4. Just got his head down. Delano Banton had a nice little splash. Scoot was certainly more productive. Disruptive on the defensive end. Still, there's some stuff that just kind of grates on me at times. Even though Jeremy went 5 of 15, 9 of 10 at the free throw line, 8 assists, there's just a lot of stuff that was just good up and down. Shaden in that game showed some stuff. I thought he was productive. I mean, everybody found a way to contribute, and I thought that was huge. And that was the thing. Like you take a look at Donovan Clingan the first night. He gets his first start, and he did the same thing that he did the first game in Summer League, that he did the first game in the preseason, and he did the first game in the regular season. Donovan Clingan loves playing basketball. He loves it so much that he gets a little too amped up, and he's like kind of a puppy. He has nervous energy. Just seeing him in the locker room before the game, he was like, you could tell he was juiced. And I love that. I do. It causes him to be a little antsy, a little erratic, like his box score that game, 4.6 rebounds, 1 block shot, 5 fouls, 2 of 5 from the floor, and a +3 in 21 minutes. Yeah, that's about right. I heard a lot of people say, man, he's playing really well. I'm like, he's playing good. I didn't think there was anything that was crazy special or anything along those lines. It was good. But you get it, let's put that game away because everyone wants to talk about the second game. But I want to shout out Robert Williams III and how effective he was and how effective the Blazers have looked with him on the floor. If you want to read more about it, I went into detail on the Patreon. Patreon.com/Jack Ramsays. Basically to look at why the Blazers look better with Robert Williams III on the floor in detail and how he kind of aids in their flow. Game 2, and I haven't obviously mentioned this, but those of you who watch the games know, DeAndre Ayton, Anthony Simons, Matisse Thybulle, and Time Lord, Robert Williams III, all out in game number 2. DC gets his second start, looks significantly more comfortable. And you have a game where the Timberwolves came out in the first few minutes and put it on Portland. After getting punked in game 1, Portland hits 18 threes in game 1 of this doubleheader. Minnesota gets blown off the floor. They go out to a 14-4 lead, and I was like, "Whoop, there it is." That's kind of what I expected, and we know all of the media, I think, for both teams, both the local media and the traveling media, were like, everyone kind of expects Minnesota to come out, and they did. They came out in that first quarter, and you were like, yeah, that looked better. They shoot 12 of 25. The only real downside was they were 3 of 13 from 3. They didn't turn the ball over. Portland turned it over 6 times. It's pretty sloppy. Shaedon looked good. That was probably the one kind of redemptive thing coming out of that first quarter. Was how productive Shaedon was. Came out of the court, 10 points and 6 shots, knocked down a 3. I thought the first couple of threes he took weren't great. I mentioned this on Twitter last night. Shaden Sharp walking into a 3 or a catch and shoot 3, good. We like those. Those are good. Those are good shots for him. Shaden Sharp, hezzy tween hang dribble pull up 3, no bueno. Not in his bag yet. Let's spend a summer on those. But getting downhill, yeah, that's where we live, right? You get Shaden goes 3 of 3 from 2 in the first quarter, 1 of 3 from 3. He keeps them above water. 2 continues to be productive. Took and made a 3 in the first quarter. Just little things here or there. that you just kind of felt out of the gate? Jeremy, Scoot, DC, that first shift, they were all negative double digits. So for how this game turned out, it did not start that way, right? And I think you have to give them credit because in talking to the players, the thing that came out of the meeting, the talk, the chat, whatever you want to call it, the kumbaya session or airing of grievances, the Festivus for the rest of us, was an open and honest talk about what everybody kind of expected from each other, what they needed from each other, and that within the framework of what they're trying to do, nothing there has happened in the sense of deviating from the path. And they got away from it against Memphis. But what they want to be is that getting bigger, stronger, longer, more physical, more aggressive, more tenacious. Those are the kind of the tenets of what the team is built on, just physically. Like that's what the roster is made up of. So to lean into those strengths, and by leaning into those strengths, you can't be comfortable in losing, but you can like rest easy and not like losers, knowing that if you do what you're supposed to do, execute the way you're supposed to execute, and the ball doesn't go your way, or the other team has better shooting variance, and you end up taking a loss, that's okay. The losing isn't okay, but the process needs to be okay. And what I thought you saw coming out from the jump in game 1 and from the jump in game 2 was the process being better. Cuts harder. Defense more connected. More communication. More effort. More intensity. And it was up and down the board. I've seen a bunch of people say, well, they're doing better without Ant and DA. And it's like, well, the 5 minutes Ant was on the floor, they were flying around those first 5 minutes. I think it was a top to bottom thing, which is why you had Jabari Walker and why you had Chris Murray and why you had Ryan Rupert all kind of like get different minutes and different shifts. And hell, Delano Banton, I think he's included in that list because he was definitely not included in that list to start the season. But they all came with the requisite energy that didn't disrespect the game, which no one had on Sunday. I shouldn't say that. None of the regulars had on Sunday. None of them. It just wasn't there. So, getting out of that first quarter, Portland flips it on its head to an extent. After going down 10, 23-33, they flip it 25-15, and you go into the half tied at 48. Okay, this is going to sound like I'm trying to suck the air out of the balloon a little bit, but I'm not. I just want to kind of quantify and qualify. You're never going to look at a win and be like, you shouldn't have that win. It's not that. I'm taking a look at over the course of 82 games. If you go into the half with 48 points in today's NBA, you're probably going to be down most nights. Minnesota disrespected the game last night. Dante DiVincenzo, it wasn't just a 1 for 10 performance. It was a 1 for 10, get me the fuck out of here performance. He looked like he didn't want to be on the floor. I was blown away because Dante is not like that. I don't look at that guy and think that's him. Right? He's like, there's a thought that maybe he was unhappy that after Mike Conley out, he didn't start, that may have been a problem. I don't know. Going from New York to Minnesota, even if you did one out of New York, is probably still part of a problem because for very obvious reasons. But yeah, he didn't look right. Rudy Gobert was a little bit better, did put up a double-double, 12 and 10, but he didn't offer nearly the rim protection that they needed. Like I said, Julius Randle, not really interested in playing basketball when Tamani Kamara was on him. Shout out to, man. He was hell. He was hell both games. Tamani Kamara continues to be the Blazers' most consistent and impressively consistent player. 11 points, 8 rebounds, 2 steals, and assists don't really underscore just how good and effective he has been over the last couple games. Played 35 minutes, guarding any 1 through 5. effectively, consistently, experimenting with new little things, little drop-off passes, little drive. But lot of like little growths from two that I'll dive into probably here in a couple of games. But my whole point about these last two games against Timberwolves, they were fun, and the Blazers needed them. There's no doubt about it. And they came out with a requisite ask to win the game. And sometimes the basketball gods will go your way with that stuff. When a team disrespects it, and you get to win. The Timberwolves go 7 of 39. I thought they went through stuff lazily, but they also had some bad luck go their way. Watching that game back, the Timberwolves got probably 10 to 12 wide open threes that just did not go. You had Ant Edwards go 0 for 9. You had Dante Vincenzo go 0 for 6. Yes, that those combined, they went the Delano Banton game 82 0 for 15. Okay. They're one of the best and most frequent three-point shooting teams in the league. In fact, if I pull up their cleaning the glass data, I bet you as a team, they may have dropped, right? Let's see. Yeah, they're third in frequency, trailing only Boston and Charlotte. And in accuracy, they fell down a bit, and they're 11th. They're still above, so they're taking a metric kratom and as a team, they're shooting 38% from three. So what you saw from them, not really indicative to what they are supposed to be. I think that's the way I'll go about it. So, but the Blazers took advantage of that. And how did they take advantage of that? Well, you had two career nights from Shaden Sharp and from Donovan Clingan. Excuse me. I'm mixing up my young core guys. Sorry. Let's go Donovan first. Because we've seen Shaedon go nuclear before, right? Donovan had himself a hell of a game. For those that aren't familiar with the box score numbers, 17 points, 12 rebounds, 8 block shots. He had a 9th, but it was a foul, so they took it off the board. One of the more impressive things in here is a 5 of 5 from the free throw line, which for a 55% free throw shooter in college, made my eyebrows go up a little bit. It's like, hey, maybe he just needs to get some more volume, maybe get some more opportunities. Went 6 of 10. They didn't really run a ton for him, nor should they. A lot of his offense right now is I'm bigger than you, and let me put ball overhead. So, it's interesting. It's interesting as far as like where he's going to be offensively. For him to come up with 17 points on 10 shots, I will be very interested to see if he surpasses that level of effectiveness and efficiency this season. Because the 17 is a lot more than I expected. If you go back to the pre-draft profile and stuff like the block shots and the rebounds isn't surprising. It shouldn't be surprising. If you've been paying attention, it should not be at all. I believe in the preseason, it was one game. I tweeted out something along the lines of, like, I don't normally do this, but I'm going to because what this is real. And that is his block rate. Folks, he's huge. He made Rudy Gobert look small last night. And Rudy is a monster human. Donovan's 7'3", 200 and what he told me is anywhere between 285 and 290 pounds, depending on what he ate. He is a massive human. He had 5 blocks in the fourth quarter, and I think he only jumped for 1. I'm going to go back through and watch them all again. Do a little deep dive on it. Real quick aside, just on the Ant injury stuff. Don't joke about that stuff, guys. That was a scary thing when he went down. It's not cool. Seeing that in the comments right now, like I'll absolutely throw you out of here. Talking about anybody's injuries like that. That's nasty stuff. Knock it off. The way Donovan played last night, that's probably the best possible version of him. You get a team in Minnesota that doesn't really have the capacity to take him out of the lane without taking Rudy Gobert off the floor, which kind of takes away with what they want to do defensively. And Rudy said it in his post game that he needs to be better for them defensively, and he does. He was not good for them. So that's a part of it, but they couldn't punish them even if they wanted to because they couldn't hit threes. Naz Reid couldn't step out. Dante didn't step out. Anthony Edwards couldn't step out. Jaden McDaniels, nothing. Julius Randle goes 1 of 3. Like they just had to settle for 4 shots up at the rim that Clingan erased or bricking wide open threes. Now, you can sort through some of the shot variance and shot luck stuff and be like, hey, the Blazers got lucky on this one. It's fine. It happens to everyone. It's not just like, oh, you can't just do this for the Blazers. It's across the league. It's fine. But you look at what he was able to do. And the 8 blocks is insane. Like, that's a crazy number. There's the stat floating around that Blazers PR put out. Let me see if I can pull it back up again. Which was, it's like Ralph Sampson, Hakeem Olajuwon. Oh, man. Let's see what it was. There it is. Donovan Clingan is the 8th rookie in NBA history to record 17, 12, and 8 in a game. Yeah, it's Ralph, Hakeem, David Robinson, Shaq, Alonzo, Tim Duncan, Wemby, and Donovan. Also, they added this little addendum. Clingan is also just the first player in Blazers history of anyone to ever record 17, 12, and 8 in a game. Which, kind of crazy when you think about it, right? Like, I know Greg didn't play that many games, so it wasn't a ton there. But you've had, Marcus Camby and Bill Walton, the Rattler, Theo Ratliff for a little bit, They've had some shot blockers over the years. For them to not have one of those guys that had, one of those kind of games, it's kind of impressive. But he's according to Cleaning the Glass right now. Let me double check it one more time. I believe he was number 1. I believe he was number 1 in block percentage. He is in the 100 percentile. Yay! So Cleaning the Glass filters out the garbage minutes. In his 187 minutes of action, according to Cleaning the Glass, he has a block rate of 7%. Wow. In case you're wondering, how does that stack up? What does that actually mean? Well, Victor Wembanyama, it was in the 99th percentile because he's right behind him, is at 6.2. Jay Huff, the guy who had 6 blocks against the Blazers the other night for the Pelicans when they stunted on them, 5.3. Walker Kessler, 4.9. Chet Holmgren, 4.7. Alex Sarr, 4.2. The other guy in this draft that had the high-level defensive profile and more mobile, switchable, wingier kind of build. Big wing, power wing, whatever you want to call him. Whereas Donovan is apex rim protector. And that's what he is. What he was able to accomplish last night was incredible. He had not played more than 21 minutes, which he played the night before. He was definitely starting to get gassed in that fourth quarter, but I think he's a gamer and a half. I think when I talked to Danny Hurley, his head coach at UConn, he could not talk more effusively with praise about Donovan Clingan's competitiveness. And Chauncey Billups at the press conference said last night, he goes, he was gassed, but he just kept going. He just kept going. And I think he is a guy who rides the crowd. He not in a positive and or negative way. It's more like he is a guy that he could get juiced by the crowd. Where some people they could kind of feed off it. He is a guy he was tired. If you go back and watch the game last night, basically from the 7-minute point on in the fourth quarter, he barely crosses half court and he almost never dives to the rim on a screen. And he's one of the few players in the NBA who, when he is tired, is saving his energy for defense. Which I totally fine with. For those that don't know, players take plays off. It happens. You just have to know when, how, where, and just kind of find your spots. when you're an offensive creator, you've got an incredibly large offensive creation burden. That's why they try and hide you on somebody else for a little bit, because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to carry the offensive creation burden, right? If you've got that ball in your hands, there's a lot of responsibility and a lot of work. Talking to Dame, Ant, Shea over the last couple of years, like when they found out, like, oh, this is what offensive creation burden is like. It's like when all sets of eyes are on you and everything you do is setting things up. It's a lot. Donovan doesn't have that offensive creation burden, but he does have a defensive burden. And his defensive burden is he can't get in foul trouble, which he's got 2 quick fouls, and Chauncey Billups said, learn it. Figure it out, big fella. Not partly, but out of necessity. They tried to play Dwap Reith. Wap played 7:35. He registered a rebound. That was it. Like, it just, Wap wasn't really getting looks. And if Wap's not going to shoot, take and make threes, it's not going to happen. So they went a little bit small. They went a little weird. They had Denny at the 5 for a little bit. They got experimental, which I like to see. I think, honestly, for the last 2 games, Chauncey Billups has pushed a lot of buttons to, like, hey, let's try this. Let's see if this works. All right, let's see if this works. And I think it's been super beneficial to him. If you go out there and you perform, you're going to get time. You're going to get opportunities. You're going to get minutes. I think that in the meritocracy that everybody's kind of seeking, I think that's a big, big deal. And no one embodied that more, I think, last night than Donovan Clingan. He just kept going. He just kept tearing it up, and he kept just making life hell. The number of hell naws that he had last night, I'm going to go through and see if I can count them up, how many times Minnesota went through and went, I'm good. I'm going to go watch every single Minnesota Timberwolves drive and see kind of how many guys got bothered, how many guys got deterred, how many guys got turned away. And then kind of you add that with his block shots, how basically the true impact of Donovan Clingan as a rim protector, right? And that doesn't even quantify how many of those I can't count, because in somebody's head they saw that 7'3", 300-pound dude in the middle of the paint and went, screw this, and didn't even cross their mind, right? That's the psychological effect of a Wemby or a Clingan that can just be so imposing because they're just so big, even for guys in the NBA who were massive humans themselves, right? I thought he was tremendous defensively, and I thought offensively the thing that stood out to me was that when he did roll earlier in the game, he rolled as hard kind of as he could. He's not a ton of, like, he's not flying to the rim like a Rob Williams. Just seems to just haul ass to the rim. He wants to dunk everything. But I thought he played with a level of physicality and a reckless abandon that is good for him. So, but I'm going to be interested to see what this looks like kind of going forward, because I don't expect him to play 33 minutes or 31 and a half minutes. Not just because of, like, DA will come back or Rob will be available, just because I think he was gassed at about 24, 25 minutes, and he played on pure adrenaline for the final 6 minutes. I think he got a block and the crowd went roared and he went with it. And he was like, all right, I'm going to focus on defense. They had enough of a lead. They had built up enough equity both on the scoreboard to where he didn't have to make sure he was diving to the rim over and over again. And the reason that happened, which, look at this little radio segue here, was because of Shaden Sharp. Shaden Sharp had a career-high 33 points, 6 rebounds, 1 assist. A handful of turnovers, but other than that, Shaden was about that life. He was getting buckets. Right? Took 10 threes, which I like to see the 10 threes. Look, if you're talking about a shot diet for Shaden Sharp, 10 threes, 7 free throws, mwah. Love it. Love it. I would like more of the threes to be catch and shoot variety, like I said, and not off the dribble or like trailing threes or that kind of step into threes. But again, I'm being picky. And the reason I'm being picky with Shaden is because if he's going to be the guy, he's got to find that. That's the stuff he's got to get, right? That's you've got to be precise in what you do and then be merciless in the execution. Like I said, he started the game off, I thought, a little bit passive, and then he was like, screw this, I'm going to get downhill. And Shaden Sharp plays the game where he gets downhill and he goes 9 of 13 from 2. 9 of 13 from 2. That's pretty damn good. Like, that's, for comparison's sake, Ant Edwards went 10 of 14 from 2. Very, 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 very similar shot diet production. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 shots in the paint. 6 of 9 in the paint. And let's see. His 3 misses. One was kind of a little, like basically on the foul line box, and then I think he had 2 he had bothered at the rim, or one kind of rolled out. But otherwise, he got to that left side of that rim and used his body to shield and floated over around Gobert 3 different times in the fourth quarter. The fourth quarter was what was insane, right? Let me pull up his fourth quarter shot charts I've got here. Yeah, he had all 3 of those. I should say he had the 2 over the shoulder finishes late in the fourth, and then mid fourth he had the massive putback dunk, which I shared it on Twitter. The all of the media row did the whoa when he did that, because that's, for those that don't know where we sit, it's section 113. It's like was pointed right at that basket, and the way that whole play happened, the path that it created, it was the perfect set of circumstances for a guy like him to just do what he did. To just go absolutely crazy. To get a 2-foot run up, elevate, and bang that home. The crowd went nuts. I haven't heard Moto go crazy like that in a while. It was cool to hear that. So much of what Shaedon did last night was just make one move and go. And there wasn't a lot anybody could do about it. I thought the Blazers did a really good job of getting into their DHO game and designing some of their sets and actions to get switches where you had a mismatch for Shaedon over and over and over again. Chauncey Billups said, post game, got pissed and said, "Why are you giving up the ball when we got Rudy Gobert switched out on you in the perimeter?" He ended up throwing a bounce pass to Donovan Clingan, which, stop doing that. Stop throwing bounce passes to the 7'3", 300-pound dude unless the ball is bouncing up to his hips. Driving me crazy. It's insane. Put the ball up high and let him go get it. Ugh. All right, let me get off my soapbox for a second. Sorry, it just drives me nuts. It's 3 or 4 different bounce passes yesterday where you're making, like, one of them ended up leading to free throws, but it led to free throws because Donovan's trying to reach down and grab the ball off his hip instead of, like, catching it up here and just yamming on somebody. Put the ball up high. He's 7'3", for love of God. It's the same thing I said about Wemby last year. You got a 7'5" guy and your guys are throwing bounce passes to him. Knock it off. They're massive. Put the ball up high. He'll go get it. But that fourth quarter performance from Shaedon, he put that game away. He put that game away like a pro. If you're going to be, critical of his performance, the lack of playmaking, they score. They have 38 makes last night. It wasn't like they got to the free throw line like 40 times. 17 assists. It's a little light. It's a little light for what you would like to see. But when a guy's cooking like that, he's cooking like that. I mean, you look at who the leading playmakers last night were Scoot, Banton with 5. Jeremy's the only other one with 2. Everybody else who registered an assist had 1. I wouldn't say the ball was sticking, but I think a lot of what happened last night was individual creation, which when the ball goes in the hoop, it looks a lot better. And I think the Blazers are mismatch hunting a lot more this year. A lot of that, I think, has to do with the fact that when Ant is healthy, when Shaden is healthy, when Denny's running things, when Scoot's healthy, like that's their way, because they lack shooting and teams really aren't really moving with them a ton. in their defensive sets. I think they're trying to find those mismatches so that they can create those separations there, or like Chauncey likes to say, the put teams in the chase a little bit earlier in the clock, or allow teams to get, or allow his guys to get downhill out of DHOs in particular, specifically with Rob Williams. And I think they're trying to get there with Donovan as he's turning and flipping his hips and getting to the rim a little bit better, but holistically taking a step away, the 30,000 foot view. It's crazy how different things are being talked about now. 72 hours later. All of a sudden, the Blazers offense isn't the worst thing in the world. Chauncey Billups isn't an actual basketball Hitler. They all of a sudden are developing. It's like, and you can't process a season, particularly a tanking, reset, rebuild season, game by game. Just not a thing. Just not a thing. You've got to take this at minimum in like 5-game chunks. That was how Terry Stotts used to do it with the Blazers. If you're talking about evaluation stuff, I like to get at least 15, 20 at a time. Hot and cold. Like I was taking a look at this earlier, taking a look at who was outperforming their expected shot quality. Tyler Herro is number 1 in the league. I believe he's 16 or 17% above their expected shot quality. I believe that's what it was. Hold on, we'll get there. Let me pull up my handy dandy little tracking here. Let's see, expected. Let's get guys that have had shot volume. Boop. Ty Jerome he's at 25%. Again, this is effective field goal percentage. 17%. So on the shots that Tyler Herro's taking, his shot quality is in the 8th percentile, 47% effective field goal percentage. But his actual effective field goal percentage is 64.7. It's a net difference of 17%. Like, think about everybody that's having a great year so far. Tyler Herro, Kevin Durant, Kyrie, Naz Reid, Norman Powell, Jaren Jackson, DeMar DeRozan, Darius Garland. Like, all of those guys, they're all at the very top of this list. Interestingly enough, Denny Avia is dead last. His expected shot quality is about 55% effective field goal percentage. He's shooting 39 effective field goal percentage, which is a difference of 15.7. It's dead last among qualifiers. So I expect there to be a little regression to the mean for Denny, which is why I'm always like, you know what, that's a quick little pivot here. You know what, I actually had this in one of the questions. I'll save it for that. This is producing on the fly. But yeah, that's kind of, we've got to stop freaking out game to game to game. Just can't. You gotta chill. Gotta chill a little bit on how we go about this stuff. Let's get into the questions. Yeah, we got a lot of them. So let's get through them. Hoop Storyteller, Jeff Kramer. Shout out, Jeff. Delano Banton, does the team try to include him in his trade suite this year in a trade that includes, say, Grant, or are they trying to re-sign him next summer? How much do you think, how much is he going to command? DB's an interesting one. He's a super interesting one, right? Like, he's 25, right? 25, I want to say. Yeah, he just turned 25 last week. So it's kind of like, and again, you're, what's he actually doing this year? Right now, he's shooting 51% from twos, almost 42% from three, right? Well, last year when he was with Portland, he shot 31% from three, and the year before that, he shot 30% from three, and the year before that, he shot 30% from three, and the year before that, he shot 25% from three. For all of everyone I don't. How far removed are we from like Linsanity? for Delano Banton, right? Because right now, for wings, he's in the 96th percentile in usage rate. Now, he's also in the 95th percentile in assist percentage, 71st percentile in points per shot attempt, right? He's in, oh my God. He's actually leading the league. Good God. He's leading the league in block rate and steal rate for wings. You've got to be kidding me. I knew he was high up there. I didn't realize he was that high up there. Good gravy. Yeah, so the block rate and steal rate stuff, like he's an above average counting stat guy when it comes to stocks because he's a 6'8" guard wing type thing, whatever you want to call it. And he isn't, like, I don't know if Delano's a good defender, but I know he's a good box score, deflection, steals, blocks guys because of his ranginess and willingness to use it. But the scoring and specifically the shooting, I don't know how much I buy into it. Like, for his career, he's in the 7th, 6th, 0, and 24th percentiles from 3. Like, did he all of a sudden figure out how to shoot, or is this a hell of a run? He's been like in the 20th or less percentile as a mid-range shooter. He's slightly above average as a rim finisher. I think the thing that he does is he has a skill that he can willingly use that Portland needs, which is to be an advantage creator. And I think that's helpful for this team right now because it's like his effective field goal percentage right now is 57.1, which is, it's good. But I think it stands out because Portland has shot so unbelievably poor. I think that's the big part of that. So coming full circle, could they use him as a sweetener? Sure. Could they decide to keep him going forward and have him be the third, guard going forward? Sure. And in today's CBA, where if I don't want to put a limit on him, but because of where he's been, because of his history, because he's bounced around, does he get one of those smaller deals? Could that be more valuable to Portland in this world of the CBA? Or could that be more valuable to a team that's trying to contend? And when they need a guard like him, and that becomes a way to put him with some other piece of salary to get it done. I think, Jeff, honestly, there's multiple different paths that open up there to kind of make that happen. So it's still too early to say. We're about a month away from talks really happening. I've gotten some feedback from other organizations about a couple of Blazers players as they start kind of doing the general, like, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? What do you think that somebody's willingness to move this player is? But like this whole idea, because that the Delano has been good here to start, that that's the expectation for what his career is going to be now. Like, no, what he's doing over 2 weeks right now is the outlier. He's got to do it over a long period of time. It's not like he's 19 or 8, he's 25. So look, and I love DB. He's incredibly fun, but I don't think you can look at that and go, you've seen what this is for 2 weeks, and you saw what this was last year, that this is actually the guy. I think it's easy to get caught up in that pretty simply. Joe Simons, my co-host, says, how close are you to rocking a man bun on live television? The people are claiming for it, and they deserve answers. Look, it's almost there, okay? Let me take off the headphones. There we go. We're almost there. I could pull it back. It's like right there, okay? Probably into December. End of December we can get there. That's what we're shooting for, right? As the pounds fall off, we'll eventually cut it. But we're not at the goal weight yet. Got to lose. Oh, this is the fun part, or the stupid part, is putting the headphones back on. We're almost there. We're almost there. Somebody says, no, he did that last year. You must have forgot. No, I didn't forget because I have the numbers in front of me that I just went over that where he didn't do that last year. But thank you. God, smart ass. No, the guy that is in the 16th percentile and 24th percentile in mid-range and three-point shooting and 16th percentile in effective field goal percentage in the league last year did not, in fact, be very productive as an offense or efficient as an offensive player. God. I don't know why people do this. You don't have to do that. You don't have to be that person. Texas Blazer, why do you think we see so much inconsistency with Scoot? Great processing, control, pace, defensive manipulation, and vision. Wilmot throws the ball into the 10th row, has a loose handle, is poor finishing the next. He's a kid, 1. He is inconsistent, 2. And 3, I think the G League Ignite didn't do him any favors. They just kind of rolled the ball out and let him go. Also, I don't think he has great processing or control of pace. I think he has a good handle and a decent sense of how to get to spots physically because he's strong as hell. And I think he has the ability to have very good vision. I think he has more natural passing ability. And by that, I mean like right hand, good Lord, I use my left hand, not my right hand. Right hand, left hand, one hand, live dribble, two hand, chest pass. Like he has a passing bag in the sense of like he can physically make all of the passes that you want a guy to make. He doesn't have the processing or the understanding or the plan to execute them. And I think that's the make or break point with him. If he can make that connection, he becomes a very good playmaker. Right now, it's just mostly theory. It's just mostly theory. And for every good pass he makes or good play that he makes, he also, like you just said, he sprays one in the 10th row. Like this, anytime I talk to scouts about him and they're trying to ask me, hey, what do you think? What do you think of Scoot? You know, you're seeing him every day. How does he look? You know, what are the things? And I go, you know, the thing that stood out to me last year was of his turnovers, 60% of them were bad passes. And it's like, and it's not in the sense of like a pass that, you know, it's just trying too much through traffic. It's just missing guys by feet. And you're like, that's weird. Like, so I don't know what that is. And somebody has I know a couple people have the theory that it's his eyesight, that's the thing. And I don't buy into that. My eyes are horrible. And I got my glasses late in life. I was 12 or 13, 12, 8th grade. Yeah. 12. When I got my glasses, I didn't know I was blind. I have 20 negative 400, 20 negative 500. My eyes work independently. And I was a pitcher. Sorry to all those kids that I absolutely smoked in the middle of the back with a fastball because I was off that day because my ability to adjust was not great. So, but yeah, I think he's better than he was last year. And I don't want it to be rude, but he was so bad last year that maybe it gets a pass. And looking around at the rest of the G League Ignite guys and their development paths and how it's taken everyone so much longer, I think you're going to have to wait that out. But I will say this. There was a pass last night, the look-away lob to Tumani that Tumani ended up missing on the dunk. One of the sauciest passes I've ever seen Scoot throw as a Trailblazer. It was nasty. And I want to see more of that type of stuff. Not the missed dunk, but the pass, and then we'll kind of head down that path. Squirrely Bear at Jonathan Ellsworth at Squirrely Bear. Does it feel like the teams played the last two games is more of a product of no Ayton and Ant on the court, or simply a reinvigorated team after some hard conversations and good open communication? The latter. I lean much towards the latter. Now, the no Ayton part of it, I saw somebody in the chat say this. There is a tactical thing about Ayton that doesn't fit as well, in my opinion. And it's one of those things that I think Ayton is trying to fix, but it's a change in his game. right? He's not somebody who, at University of Arizona, Sean Miller made him roll hard because Sean Miller's a lunatic and was like, if you don't roll, I will murder you. Like, that's how it worked. A lot like Donovan Clingan's head coach, Dan Early. Do what you're supposed to do or I will end you. You can't do that in the NBA. And he had Chris Paul, who was, I say spoon feeding, but like Chris Paul spoon feeds everybody buckets. That's what he does. That's why he's the point guard. And it made it simple, right? The Blazers don't have that kind of guard to do that. And I think the biggest thing, the biggest change in schematically that you've seen, whether it's Robert Williams or Donovan Clingan, is that when they screen and roll, the roll is much more effective and a lot harder. And I think that has been a thing that has kind of greased things. Now, Rob is a guy that in their DHO game, again, if you want to read about it, it's on the Patreon. I think his ability to understand space and create space, just with simple movements, like moving here, pulling a defender one way here, it's just like pulling the strings in the middle of the floor. I think he's a basketball savant in that regard. Watching the game back the other day, it was like, whew, wow, it's hard to, very few people impact the game the way he does with how little he truly touches the ball. It's very impressive. And I think that is a schematic thing. But I think it's much more about the conversation and communication than anything else. At Devin with Witherfork, is Jabari Smith for Simon's deal something that could possibly be? No, I don't think that'll ever. I don't think Ant is the kind of player that Houston is looking for at the guard spot right now because they have a bunch of money invested in those guys, and they have a Ant-ish kind of guy in Jalen Green, is an athletic slasher shooter type. But I think Jabari Smith is the kind of player that Portland very much values as a potential kind of guy. Slater Smith, did the Baby Blazers damage Minnesota enough to start a new NBA rivalry? No, you got to do that stuff in the playoffs. Got to do that in the playoffs for that to really be effective. But I will say they did get chippy in a couple games, so hey, maybe that's more. Like I said, I'll keep that hate in your heart. I love it. Jonathan Sass, Denny seems to be a bit of a no man's land, shooting, finishing, still off, although showing signs of life. Starting, not starting, closing games, not closing games. How's he handling it? I actually had a pretty long conversation with Denny before game one. Game one. Just like, hey man, where are you at? What's going on? Just talk to me. And I won't share everything with you, but he was really, really, really understanding of everything, of his poor play, of what's going on with the Blazers, of what could potentially happen in the future. For a guy who's 23 years old, he gets it. And that's the thing that everybody kind of told me coming out of Washington. I talked to a bunch of folks from Israel media outlets and international scouts that kind of knew him growing up. He's wise beyond his years. Now, he's still 23 and prone to being a bit of a hothead in the best possible way. And I think they need that. I think they need that fire from him. I think it's a big thing that they need. But looking at Denny in his game, it's hard not to be disappointed considering the transaction that Portland made, right? As far as the immediate production. I'm not disappointed in the sense of like, oh my God, they got burned in this deal. I think he's going to be entirely fine. You've seen moments of like, yep, that's it right there. And you're starting to see more of it and just get like the familiarization, like the relationship he had with Robert Williams at game one of the Cup game was magnificent. Absolutely awesome. Like they were just like back and forth. Like I mentioned in the postgame show. Denny drives, hits that deceleration Euro step that he does so often. It gets people off balance, gets fouled. They turn sideline unbalanced, but Rob kind of goes up to him, grabs him, and not in a bad way, but like, hey, throw it up. I'm ready for you, man. I'm ready for you. And literal next possession, Denny attacked the right wing on the first play. Second play, comes down, one hard just jab step on the left side. Gets the defense to kind of, okay, I need to make sure I cut this off. And then, whoop, right over the top. Rob just soars and throws down that lob. Got the living crap smacked out of him. Didn't get the and one. It was like, what, are you kidding me? But They were just immediately like, and that's because I think Denny has a lot of that playmaking feel in his head the same way Rob does. I truly do, and I think that it will be a thing that they figure out very quickly. I think that's a thing that just like you get there. Here's a random one. I think it's a fun one. The new City Edition jerseys dropped today. What's the style of jersey you would like to see they haven't done yet for the Blazers? Not necessarily done yet, but I want to see them bring back the vertical text, all lowercase Reds. I think that's the best jersey they've ever done. Like those like late era Bill Waltons were just those are heat. Doing a play on the 91, 92 Blazers black jerseys, some version of that. And it was like, oh, you want to see some? I thought you want to see. No, look, it's pretty much universally held belief that the Blazers wordmark, styling, font, colorways, some of the best in basketball and sports in general. Like kick-ass logo, it's simplistic yet nice. Like it's not the simplistic stuff that we're getting today. It was a statement. God, I hate that because it's a statement jerseys, but like everything about them, it was like it had like a meaning to it, and I think that's something that they should go back to. But that's more of a Nike thing than anything else. With a recent comparison, maybe regarding Two and Butler, and that was Tom Haberstroh was pulling up. I think it was like PER, or one of the RPM scores, or something along those lines, about where Two's at in his career, where Jimmy Butler was at in his career. But yes, what are some of the other NBA players you see real flashes of and are young guys? Donovan Clingan is kind of an interesting one because he's so heavy. It's a little bit different. Because you look at the guys that we've comped to in that note from Blazers PR. Like Ralph Sampson was what, 7'4", but skinny as hell. Tim Duncan was skinny when he came to the league. Shaq even was light and dumb athletic. Wemby's crazy skinny. I think the one is probably Mark Eaton. Like, that's probably the one, because I think, was Mark 7'4"? I want to say he was 7'4". Yeah, he was 7'4". 291. Honestly, looking at pictures of him now, yeah, it's Mark Eaton. Holy crap, it is Mark Eaton. That's who Donovan's really built like. So yeah, there you go. There's one for you. The one DA has brought up for Shaedon so much is Devin Booker. I think he's more of a downhill guy than Book. And putting a multi-time All-NBA guy on his head is it's tough to live up to, but I'm also the one that said Shaedon is the single player in the NBA that reminds me of the most of Brandon Roy. But yeah, I think that's kind of where a couple of those guys are. I just need more time with some other guys to kind of like come up with better comps and just kind of see where they go and where they develop. Because Scoot's still so raw, I don't think you really have much to go off of. Chris, I mean, his comp is his brother. I mean, that's to be honest, it's like 75% of his brother is kind of like what you hope. 75-80% is what he gets to, right? They play very, very, very similarly, but yeah, I think those are the kind of things like when you see some things pop up. Yeah, that's where I get to. Ryan Robertson, do you think the team's poor three-point shooting is a volume issue, or do you think the offense is constructed to not shoot threes? In other words, could the Blazers shoot themselves out of the slump? No, everything starts with them getting downhill and putting them in like I said, in the chase. Like that's the thing that that they value. That's what they're kind of going for, right? I don't think there's a way you can scheme that more. Because here's the thing, opponents are going to willingly let this team shoot as many threes as they want. Unless it's Aunt Jeremy guys who have a reputation, a career basically built on like being 40% 3-point shooters, they're going to let everybody else kind of get what they want. Like, if you're asking what the scout says from opponents about the Trailblazers, it is let Banton, let Denny, let Scoot, hell, let Shea. Any of those guys want to work off the dribble three, let them. Let them. That's a win for us defensively. If they hit it, you tip your cap to them and you go. They're going to continue to force the ball out of Ant's hands when he comes back. Same with Jeremy. They're going to make him put the ball on the floor. Like, they don't want those guys. They have multiple years of shooting 40-ish plus % from three. They don't want those guys taking them. They basically want anybody else taking those shots, right? So they can crank the volume up, but I don't know if two has really made the step, which it looks like he has. But again, we're talking about still small sample sizes. But I think that could be where they could end up. Is, you have the opportunities to keep getting them up, but I think their biggest issue right now is they just don't have enough good shooters to generate good looks. And it's not that they're necessarily passing them up. There's just I think maybe a little bit of hesitance to kick out on some of these and instead keep the ball and get to the rim, which they're struggling there too. So I just got to throw a big shrug up. At Peyton PDX, it's customary that you don't lose your starting job to injury, but with the youth showing sign that they are ready, is it time for Scoot, Shaden, and Donovan to start? Scoot has not shown he's ready to start. He's not shown anywhere near that. I know. Shaden's already starting. I think that's because, number one, he's the only other guy that can effectively put the ball on the floor. He's really the only other true two guard on the roster. And Donovan, no. And again, like, you had Donovan in game 1, 4.6 rebounds. In game 2, 17, 12, and 8. Like, as much as everybody looks at Donovan and was like, that's an incredible performance, the consistency is the thing. And for me, I don't think you're going to see that happen. Now, that's me. I have not gotten any indication that that's changing. But Shaden's starting. And Scoot's getting 26. Scoot, 26? 25 minutes a night. Yeah, Scoot's currently at in the 19th percentile in points per shot attempts. He's in the 44th percentile in assist rate, and he's in the 6th percentile in turnover rate. He's got almost a 20% turnover rate. You take a look at his shooting. He's 22nd percentile in effective field goal percentage at the rim, and 12th percentile in mid range. Like, yeah, that's not. You don't take a starting spot from somebody with that. You got to go take it from them. That's not how. None of that's gonna ever happen like that. Jesse T. I love seeing Chauncey riding hot hands and letting the youngins cook. DA isn't going to become DC overnight. I'm assuming that's. No, I guess he's. Okay, this is kind of getting at what we were talking about and how DA or DeAndre Ayton and Donovan Clingan like stylistically different in those spots. I think DA is already trying to change, stepping out and taking threes, working more around the rim. He's rolling harder to the rim, but I don't think he's fully there yet. And it's, I tip my cap to him because he's trying to change. But, Tiger Stripes, it's hard. It's hard to do that, especially when you've already made $100 million doing it one way. So, but I think he's trying. We'll see if it ever actually gets there. Rob Blaze, do you think Donovan has Defensive Player of the Year potential? Potential, yes. The ability to actually win it, no. Because, number one, it's going to take him a little while to get up to the minutes to get there. 2, Victor Wembanyama exists. And then you've got Chet Holmgren, and then you've got Evan Mobley. It's just like, could I see Donovan being that? Could he win one in a year? Do I see that in my head? Yeah. Yeah, I do. I know how insane that sounds. But when you block shots and protect the rim at the level that he does, and he said at the post-game press conference, man, like defense is what he does. And it's not some platitude. It's not something stupid. It's not, well, I really value it, even though other guys don't. No, it's like, no, man, this is what I like. his mom, and if you guys don't know his history with his relationship with his mom is still defense, and how much it matters. Dan Hurley certainly continued that. It's an interesting spot, right? But it's fun. Sammy asked, any thoughts on Chris Berry becoming a reliable role player? I was hopeful for Jabari, but his offense isn't there. Yeah, this is what I've said about Chris for a while now. If he's a 36.5% to 37% three-point shooter, he's anywhere from a 6th to an 8th man on a lot of rosters in the NBA. 6'8" guy who can put ball down on floor, create a little bit, knock down threes, and guard like 1 through 4. That's valuable, man. I think those are the kind of things the Blazers are prioritizing, right? So, Nerd Runner asks, I know Ant is your guy, but is there a chance he sees the writing on the wall and it's affecting his performance mindset? These guys are pros, but they're still human. Joe's off-screen comments, are you Scoot Shaden being a future? Can have been fun for him to hear. I'm not going to share kind of what we've talked about in that regard, but I don't think that's the stuff that has been affecting his performance. I don't think that he's worried about where he's going to be or whether or not he'll get a contract or his trade value or any of that stuff. Ant had an opportunity to be traded this summer. Like that's, and he didn't. So no, I don't think that's an issue right now. Kyle Mortensen, based on how things have shaken out since the Dame trade, based on your intel, is what was offered for the number 3 pick, which became Scoot, a whiff by the GM? I don't know what you're saying. Excuse me. A whiff by the Blazers for not trading Scoot? No, I don't think they whiffed, knowing what was available. Yeah, I don't think that's a thing. Where are we at right now? I'm almost an hour 10. God, we got more questions. You know what? Maybe I'll grab a couple of these and write some up and throw it in an open one. But yeah, thank you all for the questions. I guess I just realized my voice is already going, and I need to be careful because I'm already kind of dealing with it. So we're gonna wrap it up there. Thank you guys for so many questions and how much interest you guys have had in a tanking season. I'll see if I can grab a couple of these and throw some up on the Patreon Unlocked or something along those lines. Okay. Like, rate, review, subscribe, do all the things. You can find me on social media at Danny Marang, at Jack Ramsays. You can email show jackramsays@gmail.com. But yeah, thank you all so very much. I appreciate you. It's another hour and 10. I don't know what happened with the pod last time. Apparently, like it held it at 3 minutes. It was the full hour 17 or whatever it was, hour 18. But I'll try to make sure it pushes through the right way this time. Other than that, you guys enjoy a couple days off. We'll be back Sunday against the Hawks, the matinee on K2 on the big channel. I think I'm going to do a film watch on Saturday. I think I'm gonna do that. We'll go with something on Saturday. I don't know what time, and then we'll kind of work our way from there. Other than that, you guys have a wonderful next couple of days. Relax, chill. I'd say get out and enjoy the weather, but it sucks. Until then, take care. Talk soon. Have a wonderful night.